Hey guys, and welcome back to Boots and Batty Homestead. So we were just out in the garden and we went ahead and picked a few more cherry tomatoes and a few more basil tops. But we have all of these little cherry tomatoes you've seen as I scanned the countertop here. And I didn't want to do like just grind them up and do a whole bunch of sauces. I don't want them to kind of get lost in translation. I want them to shine on their own. So I found a way to preserve them so that they would shine on their own, but yet still be usable a little bit later on. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a sauce with them, but not right now. We're going to keep them as they are, and they're going to be preserved in a way where they are going to enhance their flavors together. And then once you use them as your sauce, however you decide to make your sauce, whether you want to flavor it now or wait till later or do different flavors of sauces, that's totally up to you. This recipe is very versatile, but we're going to go ahead and preserve them and make a sauce for later on, and they're still going to be pretty. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here you guys see our cherry tomatoes. We have a bunch of them. Some of them have already started splitting from the rain, and there are others that are kind of green, and that's okay. We had a storm come through where our trellis fell and had these cherry tomatoes on them, and a lot of them got knocked off. So if they're green, that's okay. You can save them for another batch because this is not a recipe specific batch. So I am, like I said, going to make a pasta sauce, and this is where you can have fun with it. You can do it however you want to. But all we're going to do is, if you want to wash your vegetables, you can go ahead and wash your vegetables and your herbs, however you want to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of the basil that we harvested. And I'm going to put some garlic cloves. Now I do have garlic somewhere in this mess on the counter. I do have some garlic, and I'm actually going to use that. So the basil, the tomato, and the garlic are all going to be from the garden. And we are going to store them in these jars. We're going to pour hot water over them, and then we're going to water bath them. So let's get started, and I'll show you how I put these together. So we've got them in our water bath. Now they need to be covered with at least 1 inch of water. We're only going to process these for 10 minutes once it starts boiling. So it's not going to evaporate a whole lot of water. So if it was a longer processing time, I would say closer to 2 inches, but we're going to say 1 inch just for the evaporation level. It's got to be completely covered so that way it warms up the lids as well as the jar and the contents. Everything I put in there, it's a cold pack with hot water because it's going in hot water. You want your jar to be the same temperature as the water you're putting it in, inside and out. So we're going to let these come up to a boil, and then we're going to time them for 10 minutes. And then they'll be done, and we'll take them out and see what they look like. So I'll explain what I put in the bottom of the water bath canner. In one of my previous videos, I showed where if you don't have the rack that goes into the bottom of a water bath canner, or if you're doing just a small amount of jars like I am, and you're using maybe a regular pot that's, you know, deep enough like a stew pot, or a water bath canner like this that doesn't have that plate or disc that goes in the bottom, you can use the rings. Flip them over, so if your jars happen to sit on them just right, they don't fall down in there. But you want to flip them over. They're going to sit the same way that you would as you was to put them on the jar. They're going to sit down in the water like that with that little rim on top. And then your jars are just going to sit on top of them. Now, if your jars happen to like fall over, or if there's just too much space in that water bath canner, or you're like if you're using the bottom of your pressure canner, you can actually put either more jars of different things that have the same time frame of water bathing or processing, or you can actually put empty jars in there. So you can use those empty jars or cups or glasses, whatever you need to do, just to hold those spaces to where your jars don't fall around and start banging and clanging once they start boiling and start hitting each other to cause them to break. Those are just a couple of ideas while you're doing this, if you're wondering why I'm doing things I'm doing. Folks, there you go, an easy way to preserve your cherry tomatoes. Now you're asking, how in the world would I use it? So you can take the contents out of the jar, dump them into a saucepan. You can cook it down. You can throw some noodles in there with it to absorb the liquid. That way the noodles get the flavor of it. You can drain it out. You can just put the tomatoes in a saucepan. You can use an immersion blender, blend it up, make your sauce out of it. Add more spices, more seasonings whenever you get it out. I mean, just sitting on the shelf is going to be pretty in itself. So there's so many ways you can do this. You can also go check out my yellow pear tomato sauce video. I'll link it up here or put it in the description below. You can do something like that with the yellow pear tomatoes. Put them all in there, throw all the spices in there, cover it up with water, and then just whenever you get it out, that'll be a way you can blend it up and make that sauce. So it's totally up to you. But if you want to keep it pretty, do something like this. But if you want to go ahead and do the hard work from the beginning, go ahead and puree it up, you know, and put it in jars and water bath it as you normally would, which would be 10 minutes for pints and 10 minutes for quarts. You can also go 15 minutes for quarts if you would like. But I just thought this was a really pretty way to do this, and it saves so much time. Just throw it all in there and get stuff on the shelf, because right now we are throwing everything in full force trying to get all this food preserved. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know some ideas down below that you would do with this. Give me some different flavors, different spices. What would you flavor it with, and what would you do with it? Let me know, and then until next time, we will see you later, guys. Bye.